taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots. They're too toxic, need to take the noose off. And you cannot save me, 'cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots. You are not as tough as I'm back, you know that I never left. I got tracks and some music that you never guess. I don't slack, don't lose, learn your lesson yet. When I get to choose what I do, I'm like a weapon. I'm not sharp as many, but got heart. I'm ready to change scars to envy, to win large and plenty. I like to play fast, never change back. Calling out, I'll pay back, 'cause I'm great at that. Oh, you cannot save me, 'cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots. You are not as tough though. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots, who are not as tough as me. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots, who are not as tough as me.
Hello and welcome to FPL Agony, here to make fantasy football less like hell. Thank you for joining us live as we talk about Game Week 12 and all the... Well, what on earth we're going to do this week? We're gonna figure that out. Now, it's just two of us this week. Signore is not with us. We're thinking of you, man. He's had a proper bench nightmare. We'll talk about his bench in a little bit. But it's just me and Scott. And Scott's got connection problems. So it's going to be probably me talking quite a lot and then Scott dipping in and out, which is hilarious. Let's see if Scott's going to join us. Scott, hello, can you hear us?
Hello, yeah, sorry, it went a bit weird. The signal seems to be a bit off today.
It's all good.
But you started doing your introduction, I wasn't even there.
I know, exactly. Well, it's right, it wasn't a funny one, he didn't miss anything. But Scott,
okay.
Hello, just me and you tonight. Should be fun. We're going to talk about various things. We're going to pick apart Game Week 11. I did not have a good week. Scott, I think you did a lot better than I did. But we're also going to talk about Game Week 12 and some of the sort of issues coming up from that. But how was Game Week 11 for you, Scott?
Do you know what, Matt? I was chuffed with it. I mean, there were so many factors with players playing against each other that was in my team. Like, for example, your Cancelos, your Salahs, Haalands, all in the same match. So there's always going to be a few counter-attacking each other. And, you know, I had a Palace Palace goalkeeper, Leicester midfielder. So there was always going to be that battle. So it was always going to be a lower scoring game week. But I feel like I got the better out of it. I got a great 11-pointer from Guito. He went on a bit of a haul with his free bonus. And the inspired James to Johnny transfer, I was quite chuffed with because, right, he didn't pick up any bonus, but he got the clean sheet, and 6 points is better than not making that transfer at all. So, I'm quite chuffed with that. Yeah.
And
really.
James was a bit of a late transfer for you. That was right up until the last moment, wasn't it, really?
Because I obviously sent a few messages in the group chat up until, about 6:15, 6:20. So I was debating between three defenders, and I was looking at a Leicester defender, but I didn't really want to double up on their defence. I knew I had a Palace goalkeeper, so I didn't really want to go double Palace defence again, because obviously if Leicester score, then that's your double clean sheet wiped out. So I trusted and went for the Wolves guy, went for Johnny, and it worked. It was nice. I mean, there was another guy I was looking at called Totti, 3.9 million, but you just never know. You just never know if the 3.9 mils are actually going to start the match. So I just didn't want to make that transfer and then him not start. So I went for the starter in Johnny, and yeah, I said it worked out nicely. So I can't complain.
And Tony bringing in the points for you yet again. Tony has his moments, doesn't he? He's one to watch this season.
Yeah, like he goes on a bit of a purple patch, we call it, where he goes on like a 2 or 3 game where he'll score a couple, get a couple of assists, then he'll go for a 3-game kind of break, if you wish. But I do feel for his price point, he's so worth having into your team. I'm not too sure how many strikers, that are in your teams are much better than what Tony offers you in terms of points, and he's such a bonus point merchant as well. I was quite, apart from your Mitrovic maybe, is there anyone else around the £7 million mark you'd want in your teams? I'm not too sure, if I'm being honest. So if I would have had him captain, you're looking at a 24-pointer. But let's not talk about captaincy options this week. Thank you.
Yeah, let's stay away. I think everybody made exactly the same mistake. Shout out to James Blackwell, who's joined us. Lovely to see you, James.
Hi, James. You're right, mate.
Right, yeah. So let's have a look then at Signore's team. Signore didn't do too bad. He was on 52. A very similar lineup in some sense. He's obviously Haaland captain again. That didn't pay off, but he played Tony, which was great. He had Salah, which paid off this week. We can talk about Salah in a little bit, because he did quite well. He did better than Man City this week for sure.
Yeah.
So it throws open that debate. A lot of people reacting, should he come back and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard. With Signore and I have both been affected by Maddison. That's quite problematic going to the next game week. But I do think we need to focus on his little bit of a bench nightmare. His goalkeeper choice on the bench, 10 points. Raya. Sorry, mate. That could have been better. I don't
Wherever
know actually.
You are, mate. Just thinking of you.
Yeah, thinking of you, mate. Totally. Yeah, I don't know why you'd play Ward over Raya. I don't know what. We can ask him at some point what he was thinking there, but it's not really worth having a Leicester goalkeeper now unless you're really short for cash, right?
Well, I know some people have got 2 Leicester goalkeepers.
I don't anymore, so shut up.
No, I was talking about some other YouTubers out there, actually, to be honest, Matt. I'm not going to lie. The only thing I was thinking is maybe he was looking at what I was doing about the counter-attacking both clean sheet points breaking up, because obviously Brentford were playing Brighton. He's brought in the Brighton defender in Webster, which, to be honest, hasn't worked out for this week. I know he's got him for the Forest game, which is Forest at home tomorrow or Wednesday, but I do think he's probably looked at it like that if they both score in that game, then he's got double clean sheet wipeout. So he's probably just gone one from one match and one from the other. That's all I can probably see it as.
Yeah, but not a bad week overall. Andreas picking up the points. I always put him on my bench, and I always regret it, because he always does better than some of the others. I mean, he's having a good season, right? Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, for his price point, again, I think we spoke about it before on our episodes and our live streams, that I do not think there is anyone better at 4.5 million. I know he's 4.6 now, but I mean, at the price point of 4.5, he plays literally every single week. I think he's hitting like 40 points now this season. For a team that don't score a lot of goals, barring Mitrovic, obviously.
Yeah.
He's just a solid option. He is definitely you should have him as your 5th midfield option without a doubt. Yeah, I don't know where else you can pick up that value for what for what he is. And, last week I had him first on my bench because Mitrovic didn't play and I got his 6 points or 5 points. This week was the same. I had him on my bench, but I did start Mitrovic, which worked out nicely for me because I obviously got Mitrovic's goal scoring points and obviously left the game with 7. So, yeah, he's a great option. He really, really is for the price. Really can't complain at all.
Excellent value for money and likely to be someone who saves the day as we go into game week 12, which we'll talk about shortly. Let's get to my team. Where am I? I'm here. Okay, so this is my team. 49 points. Pretty disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. It's not been great for me. Obviously, Trippier comes in again as always. He's just a staple in my team. I think in the same way that Andreas might eventually become like that. I was quite happy with my front 3 choices. I mean, I went with Haaland, Tony, and Mitrovic. And on a good weekend, they're all going to get major points. It was Haaland that was really the letdown. I think on this occasion. As you can see, we'll talk about game week 12 shortly. But I'm left in a proper pickle here. It's going to be really quite difficult. Who did I transfer in last week? I think I took a -4. And I transferred in Mitrovic and Almiron. Almiron was brought in on Signore's suggestion. Now, I'm going to stop listening to you guys because it never pays off. You told me to bring in Maddison one week, and you told me to bring in Almiron. Now I'm left in the right pickle.
To be fair though, Maddison was my pick, so I've had to make that move, and you'll see my team in a minute. But there is something I've been alarmed to. Is one of the questions in the chat. Matt, if you don't mind if we can quickly answer that one.
Tom Willis?
Because I think... Yes, please. Yeah, that's the one I've seen.
Let me just make that bigger.
So obviously it says, hey, I have a huge question. I have just stupidly spent 30 points when I meant to play my free hit. If I play my free hit now, will I have to spend the 30 points or have them kept them? So the answer is simply yes. If you do play your free hit now after taking a -30, for example, you will get the 30 points back and then your free hit will be active. The only problem is that those points you've spent on those players, they won't be in your team, obviously, the following week. So those transfers will get completely cancelled out and you'll go back to your current team that you've got now, minus the free hit, which will be played, obviously, this game week coming up. So you will actually not have those 30 points deducted. So it's probably at this stage of season worth playing the free hit now and keep the 30 points in the bank. So, yeah.
Wow, what a mistake to make. And when you think about it, quite an easy one to do. And when it's telling you how many points you've taken with all your transfers, it's quite small on the app, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's quite easy mistake to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the icons are quite small when you're playing, depending on what app you're playing, or even if you're on the website version of the game. So these things happen all of the time. It's just making sure you do know how to go around it and coordinate it once you have made that mistake. So yeah, that's absolutely fine, Tom. If you play your free hit, your points will be back. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, I mean that's the state of affairs really. So it's not been amazing for any of us, but well done, Scott. I think you got 64, Signore 52, and me with 49. So you win this week. Congratulations.
I think that's becoming a slightly regular thing, to be honest. But who counts FPL Agony Manager of the Week? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean anything, does it? Only to us.
Not at all. Not at all.
Let's talk about game week 12 because I think that's what everyone's going to be on everyone's minds, and there's lots of different potential scenarios we can talk through. And when you look at the fixture list, it doesn't seem too bad, but there's one game that's obviously, or two teams that are missing from the fixture list, and it's having such an impact. Let's go through the games that are going ahead. So we have Brighton versus Forest, Palace versus Wolves, Bournemouth versus Southampton, Brentford versus Chelsea, Liverpool versus West Ham, Newcastle versus Everton, Man United versus Spurs, Fulham v Villa, Leicester v Leeds. And of course, that leaves us with no City and no Arsenal. And given that they are two teams that are doing very well, unsurprisingly this season, they're after a flying start, Arsenal in particular, that's going to leave a lot of managers with a particular problem. A lot of very expensive players who are not playing and very little options. So we can kind of talk through what we're thinking of doing this week, and then look at some potential scenarios. Scott, looking at the fixture list of games that are happening, is there anything that sort of stands out to you as a bit of a tasty fixture?
Yeah, we've got a second Andy Carroll derby. That's for you, John. Liverpool versus West Ham. So that's going to be interesting for us. No, I think the Liverpool West Ham game actually will be quite interesting because knowing our luck, Liverpool have started to hit form. I know it's only one game, but that 3 points and that 1-0 victory against City was massive for them. Absolutely massive. And it's just our luck they start hitting form because I was thinking only 2 games ago we could really give them a good game at Anfield, but I'm not too sure now. And obviously with my Liverpool option in Salah, and I will be, well, you will see what I'm doing with my captaincy this week. I think that's a tasty, tasty game, actually. Yeah, I like the look of that one. From a neutral point of view, obviously not from a West Ham United supporters point of view.
I'm a little worried about this game week in many ways. One, obviously, with the lack of players, but I do look at some of these fixtures and I am seeing 0-0 quite a lot. I can see a lot of teams very evenly matched this week, and it's going to be quite tricky, I think, to pick up some points. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where we go with that one. But yeah, no Arsenal, no Man City. So that's leaving a lot of fantasy Premier League managers with a lot to think about. Let's have a look at the teams then for what you guys are doing. So let's have a look here. On the left side, we have Scott. On the right side, we have Signore. And, okay, Scott, I don't know if you can see your team. Do you want to talk us through it?
All right, so shall I start with my one? Because I've got a couple of notes from Signore he's asked me to pass on.
Oh, wicked. Okay, yeah. Start with yours.
Let's start with... So mine one, I have, as you can tell, made that free transfer. I've got 2 free transfers in the bank. Obviously, I've got the print screen of what it's looking like at the moment. And I have got Maddison out for Trossard. Mostly because I did it. I wouldn't say knee jerked, as the term we use in FPL, knee jerk, and is kind of being quite reactionary to something that's happened quite quickly. So making a transfer the night of the new game week, when normally you'd wait a few days. Obviously, we've got a short time between the game weeks, but I took out Maddison straight away because I knew he would probably drop between now and the game week deadline, and I knew that Trossard was actually rising that night. And even though I got plenty in the bank, because obviously I took out James to Johnny, I just didn't want to lose that 0.1 because I feel like that 0.1 does make a difference along the line somewhere along, like even if it's 4 game weeks time, that 0.1 could mean something. I don't think it's necessarily a long-term plan to have Trossard. It might be like a short-term punt for the game week, but I think Trossard versus Forest at home you've got to be involved with that. I think for his price as well, he was going 6.9. Obviously, I said I wanted to bank it, so I just think that's just a really good free transfer to have, and it changed my plans a little bit because I was going to look at potentially moving and want my Arsenal player on for the week and then bring him back for a more expensive price because I've earned 0.3 profit on him now, and if I brought him back in, I'd have to obviously lose that 0.3 and then pay the current price. So I didn't think from a business point of view that was actually going to be a good idea. So thought in some ways the Maddison yellow card was a bit of a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to kind of keep Martinelli because he's just, for his price again, he's great to have in the team. So, and their fixtures are looking good after the blank. So I've just stuck the 3 on the bench because I want them long term. I'm even thinking about tripling up on City once the blanks come and gone. So I'm quite happy with the team. There's one other transfer I could make, and it's a bit of a luxury transfer, and it's a player that most teams, most managers do not have anymore. And guys, are you ready for this luxury transfer? It is Emerson, who barely plays 59 minutes for West Ham in the league. Emerson out and Trent in. I wish I could be saying that with highlighters everywhere on the screen because I think Trent. There's been some whispers about Trent potentially playing a little bit further forward, and I think from a football point of view, that might be what the player needs. I mean, he's a good right back, but he's obviously there's obviously lots of question marks. If he does play further forward, because I know he only played like 2 minutes of the game yesterday, or 1 minute of normal time plus the stoppage time, but he played at right wing or right midfield. And imagine that fire of having Trent play at right midfield, even when he's playing right back and he's got free kicks and he's on set pieces. He's gone down to 7.2 now, so I could easily do that transfer, my 3.6 in the bank, and still have 0.4 in the bank left over.
Mm.
And I just think we got them. Obviously, West Ham are playing Liverpool this week, and then Liverpool have Forest, and Salah, who's now back in form. Fingers crossed. I stuck with the man, and he delivered yesterday. Doubling up on Liverpool against Forest could be a real good differential in some ways.
Mm.
So I know a lot of managers out there, and some of our colleagues on YouTube and stuff like that. They've taken him out because they was expecting a long-term injury, and he was back on the bench within a week. So sometimes you've got to be very coy with the managers' press conferences, because they know how to keep the fans and the journalists guessing. So it's just something out there, because right now, looking at the team, I've got 10 starters, but I still want the 11 because I've still got the extra free transfer. That's why I'm thinking, if I didn't have the free transfer, I wouldn't be taking a -4 for it, I don't think. But I just think if I want a guaranteed 11, it's a tasty move. It's a tasty move.
I mean, you're in a brilliant position, aren't you? Let's be honest. I mean, it's quite rare. You're going to do quite well this week.
Yeah, and I think Nico Williams is back now, as in back in the 11, because I think Serge Aurier has got an ankle injury or something like that, and I think with him just coming back into the Premier League, I don't think he's fit enough yet. So it looks like Nico's back in the starting lineup. So I'm quite happy with that. I think I'm in a decent position compared to most managers out there. I was speaking to a couple of people on Twitter yesterday. Shout out to FPL Fires, and I was saying that I feel like I've got a good balance here, which some managers are not even going to be able to field 7 players. So, is it worth the luxury transfer? It probably is. Is it the right Liverpool defender? I think you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you, really? And you've got the option of getting Trent in at a lower price than he's ever been. You can do it.
Sounds pretty good value for money, I think. One thing I will say about both your teams is you've got no Spurs or Man U players, which would be disappointing to James Blackwell, who says the Berbatov derby might throw up a few points. I love these derby names. I think they're brilliant. Nothing's going to beat the Andy Carroll derby, but I do think the Berbatov derby memories. I love this references to the olden days. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I love
it. And Scott, out of your teams, I noticed Thor's asked this. I guess we'll apply it to your team. Who do you think is going to get you the most points on your team this week?
Oh, right. I'm going to go... Oh... It's so hard, because I want to say Salah. Even though it's an expense as a West Ham fan. But also the fact I've brought him in, I'd look at Trossard as well. Salah probably maybe because of the captain points, but I'd say Trossard because of the fixture. So devil's advocate here, but I'd go for either of those 2 players.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, one thing I need to talk about, by the way, and I carry on talking about it on our live streams, is Kieran Trippier. What a season he's had in FPL. I mean, genuinely as well, but in FPL, he's been an absolute stonewall with my team. I've had him since Gameweek 1.
Yeah.
He was another late transfer in the first draft when I had James and I took him out for Kieran Trippier. And he just continues to reward backers. Your 6 points, your 7 points, your assist points. Yesterday he only picked up 6. He lost these 2 bonus points in the last minute of stoppage time yesterday. I was following it on the app, which was a shame, but everyone didn't play him because they were playing Man United, but Trippier is the guy.
He is, yeah. I would keep him in. I mean, Newcastle having a great season anyway. I mean, they are going to be top 8, I would have thought, for sure, and going to be picking up those points. So I think it's definitely one to keep. And we talked about value for money with Andreas, but actually someone like, Trippier is arguably better value for money. I know slightly more in terms of money, but is going to absolutely play and pick up those points. And I think it's such
Oh
a good.
yeah,
It's like you have to have
I
him in
mean
your team.
he's basically the premium in defence at the moment. Well, at least the premium in
Yeah,
defence for tomorrow, with no Cancelo obviously playing. And he started at 5 million. He's now at 5.6. I think he's rising again tonight potentially, which is mental. So 5.7. He's gone up point 0.7 in what 11 game weeks, 12 game weeks. Um, he's yeah. I think he's a must. He's an essential. Like we talk about essentials in FPL quite a lot. He is 100% the essential to have in your defensive ranks this season, like without a shadow of a doubt.
absolutely. We've got some questions coming in, and thank you for those.
Okay.
I'm going to, particularly Thor, I know you've asked a couple of really good questions, so I'm going to come back to those shortly. Should we just very quickly talk about John's team, Signore's team for this coming week? I know you have a few notes and stuff, so Scotty, talk us through that.
Yeah, so looking at it, I think he's well set up. He also had the 2 free transfers, as I know, and he did the exact same transfer as I did. He says he's fairly locked, so I don't think he's going to be adding any more. I suppose, he's just done exactly the same as I did. He's dropped the 2 Man City guys, and he's Arsenal striker in Jesus. He's got Rodrigo, who could perform. It really depends. He was brought off quite early. He's obviously sticking with Andreas as well, which so am I this week. Zaha and Salah very similar to me. Both got him captaincy. The quite interesting Mark Gay from Palace. I think the Palace clean sheet could be on again against Wolves. And I think that the move he made last game week is up for this game week, and that was the Webster move against Forest at home. Forest are really struggling to score goals at the moment. I think they look like they're in a lot of trouble in the league, and I feel Brighton defender against Forest at home is a really good transfer in this week, or if you've already had him to play in your starting lineup. I think it looks like it is a good team. He's got 11 starters.
Yeah.
And he can probably bank the extra free transfer, which, I'm still considering myself. So I think he's in a very good position again compared to others, aka Buzzkill. But yeah.
Yeah, quite. And actually, this is the week where he should be playing Ward instead of Raya, as opposed to last week. This is absolutely the week to be doing that, I think.
It's the right call, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to talk about my team in a little bit, but I don't want to... Thor's come up with a couple of really good questions that I kind of want to talk through.
Okay.
So let's talk about his first question, which is, how do we think the league is going to look at the end of Game Week 12 without Arsenal and City playing? Now, we've got the league on the table. I personally don't think it's going to change too much. I expect a Spurs win over Man United. I do expect that, and I think that will see them climb above City into second place. I think it's gonna be a really important game for them. Cementing that top 4 place, but being in contention for the title as well. So that's a massive, massive game for Spurs. And
I was going to say the same thing. Literally the same thing. I think this is where we see Spurs' credentials as title challengers, but just to see how far they've come under Conte now. Is it a year since he's been in charge? Almost a year. They play some really good football. And, if you've got Tottenham players in your team this week and you've had them for a while, then fair play to sticking with them, because you don't have to worry about the blank, So, yeah, can't complain at all.
I can't see it changing much other than that. I think there's nothing really to be gained. I mean, obviously Arsenal have to stay at the top. They will do. I just think the second and third place will switch. I think that'd be about it. And Thor came up with another question. It's for me this time. Oh, I've never been asked a question. Never been asked a question on this show, which is lovely. Thank you, Thor. Who do you think is the most interesting fixture this week? Oh, it's a tricky one. I'm obviously, as a Chelsea fan, I'm really interested to see Brentford versus Chelsea. I think that's going to be an interesting one. I think that, if we can get a win, I think that's really important. I personally think we're going to struggle away at Brentford. I think that, that's got a draw all over it, like a lot of the other fixtures. But I'm interested because, obviously we've got Graham Potter in charge now, and for me that just, as I said before on a few episodes ago, that takes me back to the really bloody weird years of when we had like Scolari and Avram Grant and V.S. Boas in charge. Those crazy years, so it's just like anyone can be a manager of Chelsea. It kind of has vibes of that. Obviously, Graham Potter's a very good manager. Whether he's Chelsea good remains to be seen, but can't complain. Some good wins, AC Milan included in that one. So a good start. But typically, there's always this transition period where a new manager comes in at Chelsea, and we have a good start. The same happens, when Tuchel took over from Lampard. We went on this lovely little run. That was fine, and then that was quite a good run and lasted a long time. And then the wheels sort of fell off a little bit in a couple of places. What I'm interested to see is when we're really struggling. I think what we saw with Tuchel and what we saw with Lampard. So I'm going on a Chelsea rant here a little bit, but when we had those managers in, you sensed there are issues, but you sensed that also there wasn't a plan, and that's what's going to be interesting with Potter. And as far as I know, I read somewhere that. So I'm really going off on a tangent here, but I read somewhere that. Todd Burley actually is friends or is acquaintances with the owners of Newcastle, and obviously Newcastle have appointed Eddie Howe as charge, and I just think there's a mutual kind of respect there. I don't know. There's something there, and I just feel like we copied them a little bit, wanting to appoint an English manager, someone who's obviously clearly very good, but also slightly unproven at this level, particularly for Chelsea. But I find it all very interesting. So that's a game I'm absolutely looking out for. Other than that, I mean, it's going to be Man U Spurs, I think, because sometimes Man U can play and sometimes they can't. So you never know which Man U's going to show up. So for me, that's quite an interesting one. But I'm going to be honest, it's a difficult game week. I just look at that and I'm seeing 0-0, 0-0, 0-0. So I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing a lot of wins or a lot of goals this time. I think it's a lot of evening out. But I think, Brentford versus Chelsea and Man U versus Spurs are my fixtures. Zach Davidge has been in touch. Ballon d'Or winner, Benzema. Is that true?
Well deserved. Yeah.
What do you make of that, Scott?
I mean, I think he deserves it. I think the last couple of seasons, but the last season or two has been a real eye-opener for other. Like, we kind of forget the Ronaldos and the Messis, and there's some seriously good footballers out there. And I think Benzema, he won the Champions League last year single-handedly. I mean, some of his goals. I mean, it seems like he acts like a fine wine for a footballer, because he just seems to get better with age. He really superb footballer, and I'm really chuffed if he has actually won it.
Yeah, no, he has. I've just checked the news. It's absolutely confirmed. So, well done. Collected the award from his old boss, Zidane, as well. Lovely stuff.
Obviously, if Karim Benzema plays FPL, then come and watch FPL Agony when you get a chance, mate.
We'll get him on as a guest. Really, he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be well up for that.
And for our next guest, welcome Karim Benzema.
I wonder how much he would charge. I reckon these players would charge. They wouldn't do it for free. He'd want like 30 grand to be a guest on our show.
What's the budget, producer, eh? What's the budget?
There isn't one. Unless people want to buy some t-shirts, which are available on our FPL Agony store, bit.ly/FPLA store.
If you're looking for an early Christmas present, you can pay him free on that website. So,
Do get your merch. It'll help us get Benzema on the channel for sure. Okay, so that was very interesting. Now, I'm afraid I'm going to do that thing that I do every week, and I'm really sorry. But this is where I need an agony aunt.
Yeah, let's do this.
I'm in trouble, man. I will not have a full 11 unless I take some minus. I got one free transfer. Let's just say that.
You still haven't done it. You haven't done it yet. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't done it. I haven't touched this team. So obviously I've got two players on the bench. Maddison is so annoying. It's just really annoying for that. So let's just put Andreas on there, and then obviously I'm gonna have to switch Cancelo for Emerson. What world are we living in where I have to make that transfer? So that gives me a starting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That gives me a starting 9. So really, the best I can hope for is a starting 10, thanks to Maddison. I would have had 11 otherwise, which is a bit annoying.
But I think your situation, Matt. Sorry to interrupt, but your situation is the whole point of, I think, avoiding a free hit this week. I think it's not a problem playing 10 and keeping a free hit later on in the season. I think that would be my biggest advice to anyone playing FPL, whether you're an expert, you've been playing 10 years, you've been playing 10 weeks. I think that the free hit is such a valuable chip, and I say it over and over, and if you get it right, last year we were quite fortunate to have 2. And I played them on 2 double game weeks, and it was an absolute... It sailed my points, and I won the mini leagues, I won the work mini league and stuff. So I don't think it's a problem playing 10. If I never had the full 11, I'm not playing a free hit. You could make the 1 free transfer. You could potentially take a -4 if you're going to use that player going forward long term. If not, then just make your free transfer.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds silly, but...
Yeah, and first of all, I completely agree with your advice about the free hit. I mean, obviously, if you're in a position where you have 9 or 10 players who are going to play, then it's absolutely not worth using that free hit. I mean, that's such a rare chip, as you said. You need to keep that. So our first bit of FPL Agony advice is really don't use your free hit. We're only missing 1 game. It's a big game, admittedly, but it's only 1. So if you really try and avoid that and save that for a better occasion. So having a starting 9 or 10 is not the end of the world. And I think, if you take a -4, you've got to be confident you're going to get more than 4 points back from whoever you're bringing in, really. And that's potentially a tricky
Exactly. One. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The only move I could maybe say, and it's obviously because I've stuck by him, is going De Bruyne to Salah, just due to the game Salah has coming up. I think he's got a list of greens, and on the fixture rating, they look really, really good. And if you could do that on a -4 and then captain Salah, you're kind of getting those points back by captaining Salah. Yeah. So that might be an option, taking out De Bruyne and either taking out Maddison or keeping him in because he's going to be back next week if you're in that sticky position.
So let's just take a look at that then. I'll bring in Salah. That gives me 2.6 million in the bank, which is great. And that doesn't... Suddenly that doesn't look so bad. Obviously, the only disappointment is really going to be... I hate to say it. I hate to be mean about people, but Emerson... just like, okay, that's got 1 point, if anything, written all over that.
Absolutely.
Which is a bit annoying, but everything else is sort of okay. I mean, you playing Liverpool, so it's not going to be much joy there, I'm afraid.
I mean, it's weird because he's never really played many. He's barely played 60 minutes in the league when he has played for West Ham this season because he's normally our cup left wing back or left back, but. It depends on what Moyes wants to do from a football point of view. He might want to set up 5 at the back again. So he might actually start because of the fact we're going to be playing 5 at the back and Cresswell will go left centre back. So he could start. But I think if he does start, he's up against King Salah. Yeah. So running down that wing. And I'm not going to do the song, so I'm not going to embarrass myself. But yeah, I think if it's going to be him or Cresswell up against Salah, you're not going to get a clean sheet in that game. So, if you could do Maddison to Salah and potentially Emerson to someone better, who's going to start?
Well, I was doing De Bruyne to Salah because that's what I can afford.
That's what you was going to do anyway.
That's what I'm going to do. Maddison's just going to have to... That transfer will have to wait. He's just going to be on the bench as a non-player. But... So that gives me a starting 10. I quite like that. I appreciate your advice because I didn't really think about bringing in Salah. But actually, it does kind of make sense at this point. If, Liverpool got a great result in the last game week, really. That's phenomenal.
I think it's what he needed as well, Salah. I think he needed to be that main man again and win the game, really,
Yeah.
And I think that's made a massive difference for him. West Ham, Forest are some really good fixtures. You can keep them up to the World Cup now, in my opinion. I would do it, and
Yeah.
I would do it tonight because of Kevin De Bruyne is due a price drop at some point.
Oh, really?
And it's going to be tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning. So get it done.
Right, so that's fine. That's decided then. So De Bruyne out, Salah in. Thank you very much. That's going to be the deal. We're going to captain Salah, of course. And let's make that happen. So that's not looking so bad. Thor asked, why don't I put the Arsenal defender in? Arsenal aren't playing, so I won't get the points, unfortunately. I do look forward to this game week being over, because I do look forward to actually bringing back some Arsenal talent into the team for sure. I've kept them out for a couple of weeks because I knew this was coming up. Right. Hi, Sam Gregg, who's just yelled out my name and then has told me you're a huge fan. So, hello. I don't know who you are, but hi. Hi, Sam Gregg. Thanks for joining the show. James Blackwell asks, I want to come back to my team in a moment because I want to talk about potentially a -4, but I don't think it's worth it. But anyway, James Blackwell asks, any advice for those who played their free hit in game week 5? Why did you do that? Oh, James, mate, why? Why did
it was lovely to see you at the weekend, mate. And I did tell you was a massive fool. My advice to you is probably just to not play FPL ever again. That's my...
Long press on the app icon, choose delete.
Can we do a little experiment on how the way we work with deleting apps? He told me he played it back in game week 5 because he wanted to experiment for a wild card. And I don't think the free hit actually paid off. And I don't know why, because he had 2 injuries. I don't understand that whatsoever. But that's okay. Let's be real here. Jokes aside, if you don't have a free hit, don't panic. Don't be playing bench boost. That's my first bit of advice. It depends if you've got 2 free transfers, and I know the transfers he's made this week. He's actually taken a -4 because we were looking at over a coffee at the weekend, and he's taken out some of the blank assets, and he's brought in Anthony, Darwin Núñez, and one other player, but I can't remember who. So he's set up now for the week with a -4, and he's got some good players with some decent fixtures. So, yeah. But the question, the answer is don't panic. If you've got all team dependent, if you've got free transfers, use them and be picking players that you're going to play this week, of course, but not just play this week, but you're going to hold long term. And I feel that's the only issue I've got with picking Trossard. Because on paper, the only fixture you want him for is actually this week.
Yeah.
Because then he has, is it Chelsea and then, or City and then Chelsea or City or something like that. So, but you can bench him for that game because your Man City assets and whatnot will be back by then. So, yeah. One player I would say to avoid is Mason Mount. I don't know why. He's looking really, really good. He's got some serious points, don't get me wrong. But I do believe that he is a slight trap. And that's not my words. That's Signore's, by the way. So once he's back next week, if you don't pick him and he has a haul, you blame Signore. Thank you very much.
Oh, do you know what? I sort of... Mason Mount's doing well under Potter, and that's great. I wouldn't go as far as to not recommending him, but I say that as someone who never has a Chelsea player in my team. It's too unreliable. James just sent me his screenshot of his team, so we can have a look and pick that apart then. I mean, when I just find looking at everyone's benches this week really funny, because it's like bench nightmares. Look at that bench. That's hilarious. Okay, so James Blackwell's got Pope in goal, which is fine. Trippier. He's got 3 Newcastle players in. Williams, nah. Mings, nah, whatever. Your defence isn't great, mate. I'm not going to lie. Trippier's fine. Are you sure when you said he's made some good transfers? Because I'm looking at this thinking, is this worth a -4? Sorry, James. I know you took the time to send this to me, but I'm looking at this and thinking, this is a bit... meh. I mean, I don't know why. Why Anthony?
I also had I also had to explain to James how the FPL app works, which was very, very interesting because I was able to navigate through players quite quickly, aka pick a player, click, you know, click replacement, and go to the affordable section and transfer in.
Yeah.
Mr. Blackwell had no idea you could do that, so he told me his methods of finding players is just to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll until he finds someone with a name he likes. So, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that's yeah. We'll show that on the screen in a minute because that's maybe people don't know you can do that. The affordable thing is
Mm-hmm.
so useful. Maybe we can talk about actually the strategies in general that we use when we're searching for new players. But yeah, I don't know. Fine. I mean, yeah, this team isn't it, mate. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Anthony and Darwin, and I mean he's captain Darwin Nunes, but I'm like, I mean to what? What am I? Sorry. I mean, to be honest, he'll probably get more points than me this week, so he'll have the last laugh. Who would you captain out of this team? Because
Me?
Darwin Nunes ain't it, man.
No, I mean Ben Mee's not in the team, so I wasn't saying Ben Mee. I would probably go Trippier, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean he'll probably get 6
But
or 7. That'll double your points. You probably get 14 points as a captain with Trippier.
it
What's
could help his overall rank as well by going the differential captain.
and I probably yeah, and I'd probably even captain Zaha. James, what are you doing, man? Oh, I feel much better now. Oh, I love it. I think people are thinking about like the strategies for getting through this. We've already said
Mm.
don't play your free hit if you can avoid it. Shush
Yep.
apparently is going to play his free hit, so good luck to you, mate. I wouldn't do that unless you've only got about 5 players in. But don't do that. I think we've said that don't panic. I suppose if you've got gaps all over your team, where's your priority? You've got like maybe one free transfer,
Mm.
and you've got gaps across midfield, defence, and up front. Where's that transfer going? Obviously, it depends on your players, but what's your priority? Is it midfield?
Yeah, I think so because I think you get some serious points for midfield this year. I mean, the strikers this year are a lot more worth going for. I remember last season when it was just pointless going for any striker because no one was scoring. So striker's still a decent position, but just the midfield you can pack some serious points there. You know, remember at the start of the season we was talking about the £8 million midfielder. I mean, there was about 5 that you could have picked from. Then there was about 2 or 3 from the £6 million range, and obviously Martinelli was that guy. Yeah, I think the midfield would be a priority. I mean, I said my transfer's been in midfield this year, this game week. Sorry, so
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Going back to my team, I think that I don't want to take a -4, but let's just say I did. Got 2.6 million in the bank. What if you had to take a -4 on any player of my team? I think I know who I might pick. Who would you pick? Can you see my team, Scott?
yeah, absolutely. I'll go Emerson.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same. Let me
It's
just
so
show,
easy.
because just in case we've got people who don't know how to filter when you're searching for a new player, I'm not going to make this transfer. But when you tap on the player you want to get rid of, we want to get rid of Emerson. Obviously, at the top, we've got a few different filters. And obviously, when it says price, you can filter by different price. But if you filter by affordable, it will only show you players you can afford, which is like such an important method of trying to find a player.
Mm.
Now, then you can obviously filter by the form or the current price or the transfers in, transfers out. Scott, I'm quite interested. What's your next step? You filter by affordable, then what do you look at?
Call me a get out, but I normally go transfers in. And
So do I.
the
I'll see
reason
what people
why,
are doing.
because a lot of people look at, there's a lot of FPL YouTubers out there that look at XG, they look at XA for assists and goals per 90 and all of that stuff. But I just feel like they look at creation, they look at the threat. But for me, if you're going to bring in a new player, you're going to look at the transfers in just because of the value for these players. So if you are looking to bring them in and they get a price rise in the next day or two, you miss that, obviously. So you keep track of who's bringing them in. And also for your rank as well. If you're all going for the same players, your rank is, your overall rank is not going to be damaged too much. Because if, 60% of managers bringing in Salah this week, and I went, oh, let's forget about Salah and bringing in Jordan Henderson, for example, for a punt, and it doesn't pay off, my rank is going all the way down. And, obviously you need to try things different, and you don't go templates, so you try and, pick up points and all of that. But, I mean, and especially in a game week like this, you don't go to, random. You just go to what you know. You look at what everyone else is doing, because you just want to keep afloat. This week is all about keeping afloat, trying to get that safety score. The safety score is going to be quite low this week, which is a bit like the average score. It's trying to make sure you don't drop too much in the red. And I think that you just go with players that you know. So Gameweek transfers in this week. If you look at midfield, is Trossard. He's the top most transferred in player this game week. You go for someone like him. Or you see what happened yesterday. No De Bruyne playing, you go in Salah. I think they're the two that everyone will be bringing in. Closely followed probably by Mason Mount, actually, at the top three this week. Yeah, that's it.
No, it's a nice system. I like that. I love the filters. I live off this, to be honest. It's just always interesting to see what the trends are and what can work. I mean, to be honest, I'm looking at this list for defenders. I'm not particularly inspired to take that -4. It's not going to be worth it. I'm not looking at anyone's thinking, oh yeah, you're going to get 6 points to make it even worth it. I just like whatever. I've got Trippier already. There's nothing standing out for me, so I think I'm just going to
what confuses me that the 6th most transferred in defender this week is someone that's not even playing. I don't understand that.
Let's have a look here then. Transferred in. What? Saliba's.
I don't know if anyone knows, but Foden had a price rise on Sunday after the deadline passed. Like, and I'm trying to work out who's bringing in Foden for this game week.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird one, isn't it? Unless people have got their solid 11 already and they're just thinking ahead to game week 13 and making some future plans. But it's a weird system to have. Yeah, I mean, even there are 64,000 people who have transferred in Cancelo. Okay. This community is pretty weird. Right, okay. Yeah, well, that's pretty much the look of that, I think. And, right. We'll just finish up with one last topic, I think. And, is Salah back?
Yes. There was something about him yesterday. He seemed like he'd got his glint back in his eyes. I don't know if anyone watched the game, but halfway through when they made a couple of subs before they went 1-0 up, Salah went over to Klopp and Klopp put his arm around him. And it seemed like he said, you're going to get another chance here, because he had one earlier in the game. Not earlier, in like 10 minutes before he scored. And it was a pretty worldy save from Maddison. It was on target, it was going in, and he made this great save. And in his post-match interview, he said that he felt like he had another chance and it was going to come again. And I think as a player in form and when you're confident, and also class is permanent, we know that. And I mean, there's no other better game than probably West Ham. It's really hard because we are conceding goals at the moment. And from a group of fixtures, it's what he needs. West Ham who are conceding goals. Forest is his next game at the weekend. That is I know we had that before
an
when
opportunity.
Liverpool played Bournemouth and they won 9-0 and he wasn't involved in any of the returns. But that's just a freak. That doesn't always happen. I'm gonna say yes, just because I've had him. I've never, I took him out the week that was it Liverpool wasn't playing, and I brought him back on the wild card, and it made sense. But yeah, I'm gonna say he's back. Definitely.
Love it. Well, it's time. He's expensive enough. He needs to be back. But yeah, that'd be nice. It's a nice thought. Another option, really. And I think it's time to end no Salah. It's definitely time for that to end. It's his time. Fingers crossed anyway. He might save a lot of our game weeks. Thank you very much to everyone who's watched tonight's show and taken part. Lots of really good questions and comments. So thank you very much for those. James, I'm sorry I laughed at your team. You're probably going to get more points than me anyway. So sorry about that.
I just want to say thank you to some of the new accounts we've had pop up on the channel today. It's been really nice to kind of interact with some newbies as well, and Tom Willis and 4 Iron Man. It's been really good to answer your questions. So please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. I think we had a couple of subscribers earlier today, so it would be nice to interact with some more people. So please do so.
Okay, Scott, I'm going to end with a confession. I don't know the outro.
Well, clearly after a few weeks ago, I didn't either, so we're a little bit.
What's Signore's bit? I've forgotten. Tune in next time to FPL Agony, where we will be
something. Have we got the script?
Is there a script somewhere? I can't do. We can't be doing this again. Hang on. What on earth? What's the? Hang on.
We will be. Tune in next time.
Next time to FPL Agony, where we will be sharing more. There's sharing more. There's something there.
Tips? No, it's not tips, is it?
Hello, Emily. Thanks for tuning in.
Something and
tune in.
Yeah.
Signore's got to come back. I don't know what the outro is.
FPL, what is this? Should I log on to one of our previous videos?
We're gonna have to. Hang on. Let's. Oh dear. Right, let's find it. In fact, I should just play. Let's go. Let's go to the end of this episode. I've dug out episode like 4.
For those that have just joined us, we are trying to work out how we finish up an episode of FPL Agony without our normal superstar in Signore.
Hang on.
Does he need 2 goalkeepers in?
No, he doesn't need 2 goalkeepers. Not this game week.
No.
I'm going through the episode where you were rating people's
So, tune in
teams.
next time at FPL Agony, where we will share more stress, anxieties.
Oh!
And
Right, okay. So tune in next time to
ready?
FPL Agony, where we'll be sharing more stress and anxieties.
and agony that make us love the pain of this game.
Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and of course share with a friend. It's very lovely to see you. And of course, may all of your arrows be green. See you soon.